Among all the tinsel and lights, I'm strolling around, just wondering where you have gone to. Are you just around the corner or in Kathmandu? And whether or not you're with
Hi, welcome back to Living Happily with Lori. And tonight I am up in my bedroom because my grandson is currently still awake. So I can't give you the beautiful location of the tree and whatnot, but my bedroom's fine. I'm still going to be doing the stories. So grab yourself a drink of your choice. I currently have a coffee from Tim Hortons. Well, it was a coffee and then I just refilled it from home. And so tonight we are currently going to be reading from The Joy of Christmas. And this is where I do have my handy dandy glasses this time, and the light is lit appropriately. So, and I do have a light, if it does become a little bit more brighter, that I can put on the book while I read. It's my daughter's ring light. So, anyway, this is night 2. Welcome, and I hope that you enjoy the stories. I'm not even sure which ones they're going to be. I don't pre-peek at all. I just go along with it, and hope that I enjoy them just as much as you do. So let's get right into it. And yeah, let me get my glasses ready and I will be right back. Hi. So I hope I don't look like a dork, but they do help me read. So tonight on Reading with Lori, day 2, the first chapter of this book is The Joy of Christmas. And these are the true spirit of Christmas. Christmas is not a time nor a season, but a state of mind to cherish peace and goodwill, to plenteous and in mercy. I think that's plenteous, yeah, in mercy, to have the real spirit of Christmas by Calvin Coolidge. So the first one that I am going to read tonight is called the Angel's Angel, and it goes by saying, be an angel to someone else whenever you can, as a way of thanking God for the help your angel has given you, by Aline Elias Freeman, the Angel's Little Instruction Book. All right, here we go. Walmart's automatic doors swooshed open, and my 2 sons and I hurried in from the cold as the light snow began to fall. I was cold. Our youth leader, Regina, had obtained permission to set up inside for the Angel Tree Service project. Brian and Jeremy looked forward to helping solicitate presents for the underprivileged kids, but I doubted their zeal would have lasted long in the biting wind. I hurried the boys along, wondering how 8-year-old Jeremy would hold up. In addition to a foot problem that caused pain if he stood or walked very much, he had attention deficit disorder. Keeping his mind on one thing for very long was difficult. Even though it was only 9 a.m., Christmas shoppers packed the aisles. Carols played overhead as we scanned the brightly lit store for our fellow volunteers. We finally spotted a group of children, various ages, near the jewelry counter. They stood next to an artificial tree covered with pink and blue paper angels. What a great spot, I said as we joined them. So close to the front and right by the cash registers. Regina gave me a rueful smile. Yes, except by the time customers come this way, they're finished shopping and are ready to check out. No one wants to go back and buy another gift, even though it's for a good cause. I studied the angels more closely. Each one was imprinted with the first name and the age of a child whose gift purchased that day might well be the only one for he or she might have received. More than 100 of these angels decorated the tree. The boys and I planned to buy gifts for 2 children, but we couldn't provide for all of them. After a few unsuccessful attempts in getting donations, Regina divided the kids into 2 groups. Let's cover both entrances and catch customers as they come in. Try to steer them over here before they start their shopping. I'll stay by the tree. Jeremy jammed a red Santa hat on his head. Come on, Mom. Let's go. Catching his enthusiasm, Brian and I followed with another mom and her son. Our excitement soon waned as shoppers passed by with a brisk "no thank you," sometimes not even looking at us. Jeremy took a different tactic. When shoppers came in, he fell in step beside their carts and began explaining about the Christmas tree. Their moms and dads won't have enough money for presents if we don't help. They won't get anything for Christmas. All you have to do is go pick an angel off the tree and buy a toy. Just $10 or $15. If that's too much, you can give us money and we'll collect more until we have enough to buy a present. My young son hardly drew breath between sentences. His words were sincere and heartfelt. His round cherub cheeks and breath beatific smile. Is that even a word? Beatific smile sealed the deal. Time after time, customers thrust money at him. Some were probably afraid if they didn't, they'd be stuck with this child for the rest of their shopping trip. But many smiled and altered their course to come by the tree and choose an angel themselves. One shopper pointed out Jeremy and told Regina, how could anyone resist that angelic face? When Jeremy's pockets became stuffed with money, he would triumphantly run back to me and ask me if we could go and shop. We'd grab a couple of paper angels and hunt for just the right gifts. After we checked out, we took the gifts to other volunteers in customer service who wrapped them with bright Christmas paper. Then we headed back to the entrance, Jeremy's cheeks flushed with excitement at doing it all over again. Even though he was getting tired, Jeremy stuck to his mission without complaints. For 3 long hours, he beseeched people, collected money, and brought presents, repeating the cycle until the angels were adopted. Many of the real-life children, represented by pink and blue bits of paper on an artificial tree, received gifts at Christmas through his efforts. Jeremy beamed with pride when Regina praised him for working so hard for needy children in our country. But on the way home, all he could talk about was how glad he felt that no one was left out. All the kids would get presents. My son was the angel's angel that day. He ignored his own pain and disability to help those less fortunate, but he didn't look at it as that way. From his point of view, he received the greatest gift, a full heart from bringing joy to others. And that was by Tracy Crump. And moving on to the second story. It's called Someone Cared. The little blurb underneath says, Christmas is doing a little something extra for someone. And that's by Charles Schultz. I was a miracle baby, an only child. So my parents tended to spoil me, especially at Christmas time. They wanted to make certain my Christmases were special and memorable. And each one truly was. I still have vivid memories of my parents' proud smiles on Christmas morning as I opened one gift after another and squealed with delight. As the years passed and I grew older, Christmas remained as a much anticipated event. My mother loved to shop, cook, and decorate. She also was determined to make opening gifts on Christmas morning a bit of a marathon. She, my dad, and I would take turns unwrapping one gift at a time, which usually took hours because my mother wrapped every little item separately. A desk set that came with a pen, a box of paper clips, a stapler, etc., would become 8 gifts rather than just one. That way we could prolong and savor the unwrapping for as long as possible. They say that opposites attract, and when I met my future husband, Joe, it proved to be true. I was sociable and outgoing. He was quiet and shy. I had close, loving family. His relationship with his family was strained. Joe and I began dating one January, and after a whirlwind courtship, were married that October. As our first Christmas together approached, I looked forward to it with some children-like anticipation I'd always felt. But when I rambled on excitedly about the gifts I was going to buy, the decorations I was going to hang, and the foods I was going to cook, I noticed my husband wasn't sharing my enthusiasm. I finally asked him why he seemed so apathetic about the happiest time of the year. But it never was happy for me, he said. As he spoke, I was surprised to see tears filling in his eyes. My dad had a problem with, keeping money. He and my mother argued about it all the time. We moved a lot, from one apartment building to another, always one step ahead of the bill collectors. Once when I was about 8, I saved up some money by cashing in 5-cent deposit on pop bottles I found in the alley near our apartment building. Then I walked over to Woolworth's and bought a small set of plastic toy soldiers. I wrapped them in a notebook paper as a Christmas gift to myself. I cherished those soldiers and kept them until I grew up and actually became a soldier. When I later related Joe's story to my mother, she couldn't hold back her tears. "That's just terrible," she said, sniffling and reaching for a tissue. "We're just going to have to make it our mission to give him the best Christmas ever. One that'll make up for all of the ones he's missed as a child." And we did exactly that. We splurged and bought him every gift he could possibly want. My mother planned a Christmas menu that contained all of his favorite foods. When we visited a Christmas tree farm, where we chopped our own tree down, we were determined to give Joe a Christmas spirit overload. On Christmas Eve, Joe and I stayed at my parents' house so we could get up bright and early for our annual gift-giving marathon. Never have I seen so many gifts piled under the tree, and the majority of them were for Joe. I could barely wait to see how thrilled he was going to be with everything we had selected for him. As we sat and opened our gifts, My parents and I couldn't help but notice that Joe didn't seem as pleased or excited as we'd anticipated. In fact, when he opened the expensive tool set that he'd really been wanting, he actually looked uncomfortable. Hours later, after all the gifts had been opened and stacks of boxes and packages lay at our feet, my mother dared to ask Joe, "Didn't you like the things we bought for you?" "Oh, they're all great," he said, "but a little overwhelming. We wanted to make up for all the Christmases you missed as a child, and for all the gifts you never received. I didn't need all of these gifts to make my Christmas special. All I ever needed was to know that someone actually cared enough about me to remember me. That's the best gift of all." On that Christmas morning back in 1971, we realized that Christmas gift opening marathons weren't what made Christmas special. Joe passed away a week before Christmas in 2012. I still put one special gift for him under the tree that year, a small set of plastic toy soldiers. All right, we are going to read one more story. So far, what do you think of the first two? I think they're pretty good. They have really good meanings to them. So let's carry on to our last story for today. And this one is called Operation Christmas Thank You. And the little caption underneath says, "There are no strangers on Christmas Eve." And I don't even know if I should try and say this lady's name. Adele Kamandini and Edward Sutherland, Beyond Tomorrow. It was October, and we were attending the fire hall's open house with our 5-year-old son, Isaiah, and 3-year-old daughter, Angelia. Isaiah stood in awe of the massive yellow trucks with all of their shiny chrome and interesting gadgets. The firefighters were more than happy to answer this many questions about each piece of equipment. He fidgeted with the plastic firefighter's hat as he studied the collection of scale models in large glass display case in the office. "When do you get to play with those?" he asked the accompanying firefighter. My accents come out once in a while and my tongue goes up. Ugh. Anyway, the firefighter had hid his amusements as he answered very solemnly, "We don't get to play with them. The chief keeps them locked away in that cabinet." Isaiah had lost in thought as we walked home that evening. Halloween came and went, as did Remembrance Day. With colder weather setting in, our thoughts turned to Christmas. It was important to us to keep true spirit of Christmas at the forefront of our holiday activities. The last thing we wanted was our children seeing Christmas as a commercial event. We sat the two children down and explained that there were many children that didn't have the same things they did. Some children didn't even have a mommy or daddy, enough food to eat, or new toys to play with at Christmas. We explained that Santa sometimes needed a bit of help from Christmas ambassadors to provide gifts or food for those in need. Both children listened very attentively. Isaiah's eyes shone. "Can we take presents to the firefighters? Santa doesn't visit the fire station, and they aren't allowed to play with all those fire trucks. We can take them toys to play with on Christmas." That's so cute. At first, we didn't know how to respond. We had long since forgotten about the model fire trucks in the display case at the fire hall. Apparently, Isaiah had not. His dad cleared his throat. Well, that is a good idea. But they don't really have time to play with toys because they are too busy keeping us safe from the fires at Christmas. Isaiah became very serious. He knew his dad was right. Being a firefighter was a very important job. Angelina had been sitting quietly playing with some blocks. Candy? They want candy, she said quietly. I looked at my husband. Not quite what we had in mind, I said. It's not a bad idea, though, he replied. That first year we set out on Christmas Eve, led on by foot, our two children to the fire hall, police station, and paramedic stations, to deliver boxes of chocolates. The kids were given warm welcome at each stop and a tour of the units and their trucks. As the children grew, the operation matured. We added coffee, lunch, dessert trays, and candles. We began deliveries to the Ontario Provincial Police. Huh. This is done here in Ontario, where I'm from. Wow. Provincial Police and the hospital emergency room, too. 6 emergency response locations in total. We began taking photographs and posting to a Facebook page in hopes that others would start the campaign in their own cities. We have 5 children now, and the 4th was born with a serious medical problem. For the first time, we fully understood and appreciated the role of emergency services in a very personal way. During one medical emergency, which occurred during a blizzard, we had to call an ambulance to take Nathaniel to the hospital as he screamed in pain. The roads were too dangerous to navigate, but the paramedics still came, and they got us to the hospital safely. Then on December 18, 2014, while crossing the street, a car hit my husband and me. The car had slammed into me first, sending me scraping across the pavement several feet before coming to a stop. My husband had been picked up and thrown onto the hood by impact. A fire truck was the first on scene, and I was helped onto the truck step, shaking and crying. Firefighters kept me talking, making sure I was coherent until paramedics arrived on scene. I don't know if you guys know, but I was ran over 3 times by a truck, so yeah, that touches me right there. I was helped onto a stretcher and rolled into the ambulance, where one soft-spoken paramedic assessed my vitals and provided me with ice packs for my bruises. The other paramedic climbed in the driver's seat and called back, "These are parents of the kids who bring us goodies on Christmas Eve." I was shocked. I'm not sure why, but I didn't think we were recognizable, and I really didn't view what our children were doing as anything out of the ordinary. We were saying thank you, showing our appreciation. Our first little Christmas elves, Isaiah and Angelina, are now teenagers. They raise money each year to pay for treats, and they and their siblings deliver to all our first responders. This year it'll be our 12th Operation Christmas Thank You. It's the highlight of our family's Christmas. By Danielle Kuhn. 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 Okay, so that was the 3 stories for tonight. Oh, and I would like to show you a little picture that they have. And this was at the firefighter station. And these are the children. That's really sweet. I thought that was an excellent one. So, this is night 2 or day 2, whenever you're listening to it. Take these off now that I'm not reading. So, with it being day 2, what are you thinking? Are you enjoying the reading of the stories? Are you looking forward to them as I continue reading? I really do appreciate you. I appreciate all your time spent with me, and I do appreciate the likes and the comments, and whether or not some of these stories that I read to you does hit home with you, because I do believe that in a lot of ways they hit home with me, and some of them anyway. So I'm gonna sign off, and we will see you tomorrow. But don't forget to always allow your spirit to be the warrior within. Always be yourself, and always have fun. See you tomorrow. Good night. As excuse me, I just burped.
It's December again. I can't bear